After a pretty slow episode last week, Peacemaker comes back swinging with an insane episode that explores Earth 2 and connects directly to both the Suicide Squad and the original Suicide Squad. That movie is canon. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and become a member of this channel in the Noble tier or above for early access to videos, and in the King tier for a special shout out. Thanks to these members for the extra support. Season 2, Episode 3 is titled Another Rick Up My Sleeve, which I thought was named after Rick Flag Sr., but he doesn't actually appear in this episode at all. He'll return in the next episode. It's actually a reference to Rick Flag Jr. of both Earth 1 and Earth 2. Unlike last week, there's a lot to talk about in terms of what we learned about the DCU. From the get-go, we see a 3 years ago title card, which seems to be a recurring thing in the cold opens this season. Episode 1 was 6 months ago, Episode 2 was 8 months ago, and now Episode 3 focuses on 3 years ago, which is all very helpful for a timeline breakdown video that I will surely do after this season. I think Episode 4 will go back even further. Maybe each episode will go back further and further. In Episode 4, we're going to be learning where White Dragon got the quantum unfolding chamber, which definitely happened before the Suicide Squad, since when Peacemaker came back in Season 1 of Peacemaker, he knew all about the quantum unfolding chamber. So I think the cold open of Episode 4 will be going back over a decade, maybe even longer, and then each episode will go back further and further. We learn this flashback takes place right before the events of the Suicide Squad, meaning the Suicide Squad happened back in 2022, 3 years ago, the same year that Superman debuted. Now, the new timeline that we have here is that in 2022, Superman debuted and the Suicide Squad occurred. Peacemaker Season 1 was either in 2023 or 2024, and then Creature Commandos was in 2024 because it was 2 years after the Suicide Squad. Flag became Argus director in November 2024. Peacemaker found Earth 2 in January 2025. Superman occurred in May 2025, and now we are in July, and maybe we've moved into August 2025. The scene reintroduces Rick Flag Jr. with Joel Kinnaman reprising his role. We learned that Flag and Harcourt were closer than we thought. Previously, I don't think they ever had a single scene together, considering each other friends and also seemingly falling in love right before Flag's death. Also, they were sleeping together. According to Gunn, he has considered this to be true since the beginning of the show, explaining why Harcourt was so anti-Peacemaker in the beginning of Season 1. It's only now been revealed though. When talking about them possibly getting together, they reference a character named June, who is a sorceress who can potentially borrow a hole through the planet. This is a reference to June Moon, aka the Enchantress, and Flag's relationship with her from the original Suicide Squad. These references add Suicide Squad to the loose canon list alongside the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker Season 1, and Blue Beetle. James Gunn did previously mention this, that it is loose canon, but until now we didn't know what is unique from that movie that is canon. Now we do. At the very least, June Moon, aka the Enchantress, and her relationship with Rick Flag is canon. So adding to my video where I went over the canon of the DCU, I think Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad, was first created in 2016 by Amanda Waller and led by Rick Flag. One member was the Enchantress. Flag and June Moon fell in love, but Enchantress took over and was stopped somehow, with June taking back control, leading to Flag and Moon staying together until Flag's death in 2022. Where the Enchantress is right now, we don't know, and otherwise, everything is up in the air in regards to the canon of Suicide Squad. Maybe Deadshot was there, maybe Harley Quinn was there. We don't know the actors involved, and also we don't know if the Enchantress was or wasn't played by Cara Delevingne. She doesn't need to be. A few more shots from the Suicide Squad were canonized as a part of the DCU, but nothing that confirms anything about the canon. Moving past the cold open, we later meet the Rick Flag of Earth 2, who is clearly very different from his Earth 1 counterpart. This is important for him specifically to make it so that we can't just replace a dead character with his alternate universe character. They need to be extremely different. The same is true for Augie Smith and Amelia Harcourt at the very least, and I'm assuming every single Earth 2 character will be vastly different from their Earth 1 counterpart. We later meet the Sons of Liberty, a terrorist organization from the Superman comics who are an ultra-patriotic military group which includes Agent Liberty before he leaves to become a good guy. This group and Agent Liberty were previously used on Supergirl as some of the main villains of Season 4. Back on Earth 1, there's yet another mention of Martians, which has happened a few times now. These references mostly feel like if somebody in the real world were to mention Martians, meaning they aren't confirmed to exist. I don't think Martian Manhunter is a public hero, they're just hypothetical beings from Mars. That said, Instead, this time, Adrian specifically mentions Martians having one big eye. This is likely just a theory about Martians in this world, but it just so happens that right now there is a currently releasing series called Absolute Martian Manhunter, showcasing the Martian Manhunter of the Absolute Universe, who, unlike the typical Martian Manhunter, isn't actually Martian and has one big eye. I doubt the DCU will use this design for Martian Manhunter, nor do I think this is a direct reference, since this was likely written before Absolute Martian Manhunter was created, but honestly, I'd be so down for this design to be used as the true Martian form that John maybe changes to make himself look more human on Earth. Also, this comic is easily the best Martian Manhunter comic of all time, so I think generally speaking, Martian Manhunter of the DCU could take inspiration from Absolute Martian Manhunter. Okay, so all of that out of the way, let's get into the review. Now that I understand the structure of the season, including a flashback cold open before the intro each time, I can kind of compare them to each other, and right now, this has got to be my favorite. I think episode 2's cold open was a better scene in a vacuum, but like I said in my previous review, it didn't connect well to the episode. This cold open was great, explaining some canon, the timeline, revealing Harcourt's past with Flag, and it did connect, at least thematically, to the episode and the episode's title, focusing on Rick Flag. From there, we jump into the main part of the episode, after obviously not skipping the intro, and we jump back into Earth 2, and the show's comedy instantly hits. The episode goes on to be probably the funniest episode of the season so far, like Chris's pissing taking too long, Chris's exchange with Keith, with Chris trying to not reveal he doesn't know anything about this world, Vigilante's animal facts moments, Rick Flag Jr. spying on Chris and Amelia and knocking over a trash can, the bird blindness joke returning, and the line, "You almost got titties killed." The episode was hilarious, many laugh out loud moments, and really creatively funny lines delivered by some really funny people. The music in this episode was great too. Break It Out by Ammo Track in the Peace Cycle scene made the scene feel as awesome as Chris felt. Dreamer by Ozzy Osbourne made the date feel as pleasant as Chris felt. And then Animal by Shining at the end got me hyped for the next episode. Obviously, perfect musical choices by the GOAT of musical choices in movies and TV. The Peace Cycle scene was interesting in how it showcases this alternate world. People love Peacemaker and the world seems kind of retro. People have noticed how Earth 2 doesn't have a single non-white person, leading to the theory that this perfect world will be revealed to be some sort of Nazi world, or maybe Earth X, which is why Augie is considered a hero. Maybe he's not as different from the Earth 1 version as we thought. I think it's possible, but honestly, I kind of hope it isn't. I kind of hope that's a red herring. I kind of hope there's a more nuanced reveal. This alternate world isn't terrible, but it's also not perfect, and more than anything, it's not home to this version of Peacemaker. Sticking to Earth 2, we soon meet Rick Flag Jr., who is super weird, which made for a funny and interesting scene, but also started with a bit of emotional weight as Chris is met by the man he killed 3 years back, just an alternate version of him. We also learned that the Jarhead nickname was simply an incorrect nickname because he's not a Marine, he's in the Army. I think it was written to throw people off the scent that it'll be Rick Flag, which absolutely did not work. The ensuing sorta date scene was fun, a great musical choice but a bit cliche, maybe purposefully so. Honestly, the highlight of the episode was when that scene ended. As Chris and Amelia are having a nice talk, we start to see people running in the background, followed by a man falling on his own bomb, which explodes. This immediately took me off guard. It intrigued me as to what this unknown threat is, and heightens the ensuing action because of how abrupt it all is, a very creative way to transition from one type of scene to another. The ensuing action is one of the highlights of the season as Chris, suitless, goes full John Wick, immediately becoming the most badass and most capable we've ever seen him be, jumping right into action from the roof, badass, killing this guy with an axe, badass, this guy with a knife, this guy with a copy machine, this guy with goddamn pencils, and everyone else one after the other with a gun, badass, 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 badass. Absolutely amazing action scene that is incredibly creative, brutal, and makes Peacemaker feel more badass and capable than ever before. This leads to him stopping the bomb, which, while I never thought it would explode, still had stakes, mostly due to Chris's reaction and John's acting. After all this, I was really hyped when Keith then showed up to destroy the helicopter. This was super cool, and a great way to showcase Chris fulfilling his dream of actually being a superhero. This also worked really well to show Amelia falling back in love with John, giving the end of the episode a sweet feeling that makes it feel more believable that Chris would definitely want to stay here. However, Chris writing the wrong "you're" absolutely pissed me off. Generally speaking, the Earth 2 scenes were a lot more engaging than the Earth 1 scenes, which were heavily lifted up by Vigilante's comedy, but had more focus on Leota and Harcourt, for instance, talking about her relationship with Chris, the cold world open obviously adds interesting context to this, but generally speaking, just talking about Chris and the potential romantic connection, which is basically all that Leota has done in this season, is not very interesting, nor is it very engaging. Also on Earth 1, we are introduced to Red Saint Wild, but he isn't really given a big introduction. He kind of just is there, and then he's explained. There are some funny moments in regards to this character, and he's not from the comics, so it's perfectly fine by me. More than anything, Judo Master's reintroduction was pretty great, albeit unfortunately spoiled in the trailers. The ending of the episode, accompanied by great music, also added to the feeling of Earth 2 being perfect while Earth 1 sucks for Chris. While on Earth 2 he's a beloved hero with a complete family and with Amelia falling in love with him, on Earth 1 he's being hunted by the government, his family is dead, and Harcourt does not love him as far as he knows. Earth 2 is indeed the best dimension for now. Overall, this episode was a lot better than episode 2, giving us a lot of interesting world building and reveals, absolutely hilarious with incredible action and interesting exploration of Earth 2, held back by some less interesting Earth 1 scenes, and also, it's pretty short. This episode is generally really great, ramping up the season and leaving me excited for what's to come. I'd give this another 8 out of 10, like episode 1, and I'm sure it'll only get better from here, as Gunn has said the season will directly set up Man of Tomorrow, which is exciting stuff. Let me know your thoughts about this episode in the comments down below, and thanks so much for watching.